The project that we're going to do today is 3D English paper piecing. All right, so we're going to go through the steps of making a bowl. Okay, so this is half of my bowl. This is the outside of my bowl. Isn't that cute? And it's all 3D. Then I made the inside of my bowl. It's not done yet because I'm going to show you some stuff. First thing we want to talk about is, all right, so here's one of my pieces of paper. I've got a couple pieces of paper. These ones are already done and we're going to stitch these together in a second. I'm going to take a piece of fabric. Now what I did when I made this bowl, you'll notice there's not any two of the same fabrics in here. I literally just rummaged through my scrap bucket, and anything that was orange or yellow or tan, or there's one red one in here, I just took the piece out because it only needed to be like a 3-inch square. So like this was a piece of fabric that was mostly green, but there was a pumpkin on there, so I used that one. So just grab a bunch of scraps. It doesn't even matter what they are. They don't have to be square. Most of those were all kinds of weirdness. The bowl has 3 different shapes, and I'll show you the pattern in a second. The pattern has all of the directions for how everything lays together. This is my fabric glue stick. I love this glue stick. I know I talk about it all the time, but here's another reason why I love it. It goes on bright yellow, but it dries fast. So once it dries, it's clear and it's gone. So I'm going to put glue on the back of my paper. Since this isn't coming out, glue it as much as you feel comfortable with. This is my add a quarter ruler. I'm also going to show you a 3/8 ruler, and you can decide which one you like better. Because I do most things by machine, I don't really care how much of a seam allowance there is. I'm going to show you why the 3/8 ruler though might be more your thing in a second. So I'm just going to cut. I'm going to use my add a quarter ruler, which has a little lip on the back here. I'm going to use the lip on the edge of my, I know there's a glare, on the edge of my hexagon, and we're just going to cut all of the extra fabric away. If you like to have more fabric around your edges, you can do that. I'm going to glue her down. This is add 3/8 ruler. So instead of add a quarter, it says add 3/8. It works the same way. It just gives you a bigger seam allowance. Now I'm going to take my glue stick. Here's your first hot tip of the day. Instead of making a wide pass like that, what I do is I take the edge of my glue stick and I run it right along the edge of the block. Notice I put some glue on the fabric. That's because when I flip this over, I want that to stick. That's going to make your life easier in about 5 minutes. If you put glue on the fabric itself before you flip it over and hold those corners down, you're going to like it better. This glue dries really fast, so that means you want to do one side at a time and you want to immediately roll it over so that it sticks right away. This is why you might want a wider seam allowance. So if it makes you nervous to get that tiny piece of fabric rolled over the edge, maybe you'll like a wider seam allowance, especially if you're new to this and you're not sure yet. Try it with the wider seam allowance. Now, if you get the glue outside of the space that your fabric's going to cover, don't worry about it. Once this glue dries, it's not sticky anymore. So even if you get some over here and you're worried that it's going to stick to something or it's going to get on places, just wait about 60 seconds. That yellow is going to turn white and it's not going to be sticky anymore. Okay? So we're going to put our glue stick away so it doesn't dry out. Now this is the sort of odd shape that we have. You'll notice that when I glued this long piece down, I have these weird ears out here. Resist the urge to trim these off until you're done. When I sewed these together, I let them stay. I just sort of pulled them back a little bit. You can do one of two things with these. After you stitch these together, you can trim that away. But honestly, especially for a project like this where everything's going to stay in it, I'm going to take a dab of glue on that extra little bit and I'm going to glue that down to the back side. The pattern gives you a really easy layout of how to put all these together. I followed the pattern's directions of which goes where. And what's left right now to put together with this is this piece is going to go here, right? So that when my bowl comes together, this is going to sit right here and right here. And then this piece goes here. So when you lay your pattern out on the table, you can put everything where you want it to be. What I found is if I take these two pieces and I put them together before I start constructing the bowl, then I only have to put these on, I can put these on together, okay? I'm going to use my handy dandy sew tights to hold this together. I have a size 10 needle. I like a size 10 needle because it's really hard to take big stitches with a tiny needle, okay? That's kind of the idea behind quilting. I'm going to make a quilter's knot on the end. And the other thing that I absolutely refuse to do any handwork without is thread magic. This stuff is like conditioner for your thread, the same way you need conditioner for your hair. My needle's already threaded. I'm just going to take and run my thread through this stuff. I usually do it 3 or 4 times because I really want it coated. I'm going to suggest you go ahead and stitch through the paper. Normally, I would suggest that you try to get the fabric without the paper because if you're going to pull the paper out, it's harder to get the paper out if you've stitched through it. Don't start at the corner. If you start at the corner, where do you think this tail is going to go? It's going to be sticking out over here somewhere. You're going to have to trim it off, and then you don't have the security of the tail on the other side of your knot, so your knot's going to come out easier. So what I do is I take a stitch about a 1/4 inch in from the end. Okay? Then I take my needle and I stitch right through that corner point. It keeps my tail secure back here. See, it's not even long enough to be seen anywhere, but you still have, I'm trying to get that clear. You still have the security of the tail behind the knot, okay? Then I'm going to take really small whip stitches. And when we get to the other end, so remember we've got this weird tail on this odd shaped piece. I'm going to go to about here. And since I'm going to tie this off, I'm going to do the same thing I did at the beginning. And I'm going to pick up just right here at the corners. And then I'm going to come back to here to do my tie off. And we snip this off. You want a tail that's shorter than the distance between here and there. All right. So now we've got these two pieces put together. Isn't she sweet? Then we will take these pieces and I'm going to show you how to do multiple stitches at one time. So multiple seams. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this one and I'm going to fold these together. Since this is paper, you can go ahead and fold it. You don't have to really crease it, but you do want to get to where these two pieces that are the same size are lined up. I'm going to start over here. I've already got thread conditioner on my thread. You can put more on if you need to. We're going to start on this end because these are already all stitched together. Since we already have a place that's not going to be the edge, we don't have to backstitch it. We can start in the corner and just stitch along this seam. I'm going to take my magnet off and turn it so that our new piece can get attached right here. We're going to line those two pieces up and we're going to stitch along this seam. See how these are coming loose a little bit? Make sure you pull those tight before you go back around the corner. You also want to pull into this corner again because we're starting with a new corner here, and make sure you lock all of those stitches in really tight. Then whip stitch across this seam. And when we get to the end of this seam, we're going to add that second piece on without stopping. Okay, then we're going to stitch along this one. What I've got left to sew together is these two seams and this seam to make our whole bowl. Isn't that cute? So you make the bowl, I already made this one, and then I turned it right way out so that it was, so you have a concave bowl and a convex bowl, and then you line them together. And when you put them together as a set, the top one, because it's got all of the paper and stuff in there, it's a little bit taller than the bottom one. So make sure that all your little edges and whatever are poked in and tucked under and glued down. And then you can just take this, either hand stitch it shut, or you can machine stitch it all the way around to make your bowl. So that's what I have. That's what we, hopefully you can make some cute little bowls. How cute would this be to put your, you know, you can put your clover clips in it next to your machine. I think they're cute. And we will see you on Wednesday. Have a nice night.